Here we are with the first review for Kamen Rider Build, looking at the episodes that aired in September, episodes 1 through 4. We've got a lot to talk about since this is a new show, so let's get right to it. The first episode immediately drops an important piece of info, at least to me, which is that the show takes place 10 years after people have been sent to Mars, which raises the question, does this take place in the future, or was Japan just way more prepared for space travel in 2007? Semantics aside, it's pretty interesting to start a show off after such an important event. It reminds me of Kabuto, where a meteor destroyed a city in Japan, except there was a lot more clear what was going on. Here, Japan's been split into 3 nations, Hokuto, Seito, and Toto. The last one being our main focus, since our protagonist is in Toto, figuring out the mystery of Pandora's box. I don't have a lot to say about the people working at the Institute yet. One of them is kind of sleazy and suspicious, while the other looks a lot like Makoto from Ghost. They're definitely going to be important to pay attention to as the show goes on, but I hope we get more of a look at how Seito and Hokuto operate. Right now we just get a quick look at the figureheads of those nations. As for our protagonist, Sento Kiryu, I like him a lot. I'm pretty much into every Kamen Rider protagonist on some level, but what makes Sento fascinating to me is the fact that he reminds me of Wizard, but better? Wizard had a similar setup where we begin in media res with a hero who's already saved several lives, but Wizard felt like he didn't have enough personality behind his confidence. Sento, on the other hand, is a proud genius who knows he's right, but he's also pretty excitable, and even a bit dorky. I don't know, something about that makes him feel like more of a real person, or at least more likable. While I'd like to talk more about the supporting cast at the cafe, much like the Institute, there's not much to say just yet. I really do enjoy the idea of a secret base hidden under a cafe of all places, and I hope it becomes more of a regular setting since I enjoyed the cafe setting from Kiva. The owner is pretty charming, and after episode 4 ends, I'm left with many questions about whether or not I should find him charming. Misora seems like she's fun since she's this highly relatable shut-in with a double life as a peppy internet idol, but I hope that she has more character beyond that. Oh, also, Sawa seems like a fun character and I like her taste in clothes. I hope she does more because I really like the idea of her character. Now that I've gone through most of the characters that I have an obligation to talk about, let's talk about Ryuga Banjo. He's a character that I would have found interesting on his own, but I find it even more interesting knowing what his fate will be. We know that there's a second rider with the dragon motif. Ryuga's name involves the kanji for dragon, and wouldn't you know it, Sento gave him a dragon full bottle because of his name. It's clear that they're planning to make him a rider, and that to me is cool for several reasons. When it comes to the secondary rider, and I mean the very next rider that gets introduced after the hero, they usually already have their gear, like Zeronos, or they obtain it very shortly after their introduction, like Baron. If you're going to count Gatak from Kabuto, who technically became the hero's sidekick after several other characters became riders, then what they're doing with Ryuga isn't new, it's just something they haven't done in several years. And even repeated ideas are nice to see if they've been away for a while. The other reason I like Ryuga is because what I mentioned about Sento. We are introduced to him while he's in the middle of his journey as a character, so we never really get his origin story beyond some light exposition. But with the first 2 episodes, we're introduced to Ryuga after his life has been torn apart and Sento ends up helping him put it back together. We're seeing the origin story of the second hero, and we'll see where this story takes him by November. Will he still be an ally by then? I honestly can't be sure. That brings me to Faust, the evil organization turning people into monsters called Smash. They're very ominous, and I like Night Rogue's design. And there's also Blood Stalk, who looks pretty cool, and I look forward to seeing him in action. Do I have any theories on their identities? Well, I decided I'm gonna wait until there's a few months worth of episodes since the show just started. But I've definitely directly been told at least a dozen theories about one man. They also do voice filters, which sounds alright in the show, but I really enjoy how Night Rogue sounds in the arcade game. The monster designs are very nice. I like the idea of Build obtaining his full bottles from a sample of what the monsters are made of. And even though some motifs are obvious, some are pretty vague and make me think of crazy weird anime designs. Build himself also has some cool designs. People have beaten a dead horse comparing him to Kamen Rider Double, but unlike Double, I think Build's half-and-half setup is a little more visually interesting due to the asymmetrical format and the variety of forms. The best match system seemed to me like it would be more like O's, where the main combinations are implied to be stronger, but I'm kind of pleasantly surprised that that doesn't seem to be the case, because why would you use the other combinations then? Instead, the best matches are a thing that Sento needs to find for story reasons. Each form is as strong as the other, and it's just a question of what he needs in that particular fight. Also, his main weapon is kind of goofy, but I really like the other weapons shown so far. I've talked about most of episodes 1 and 2 from just talking about the characters, so let's just go through the episodes real quick. Episode 1 goes through a lot of setup and establishes Sento and Ryuga's companionship, and overall it's a good first episode for the show. Rabbit Tank form looks solid, and I like the color combination, especially with the knowledge that Kamen Rider really likes using red on black. It's nice to see a little blue mixed in. By episode 2, we're introduced to Ryuga's girlfriend and her subsequent death. Kinda glad we're not gonna make this a journey to save his girlfriend. Gorilla Mod form kind of comes and goes quickly, but it's understandable since we've seen it a couple times in X-Aid. For episode 3, we get some nice info on the full bottle system, a clever plot involving a victim who returns a favor, and a pretty cool debut for Hawk Gatling form. We also got our first glance at Bloodstock, which was unexpected. Episode 4 takes a break from major form debuts to insert some potential cover-ups, a genuinely sad look at what happens when a victim of the smash can't return to his old life. And we get that ending to the episode, which was very surprising. And that's it for my review. I spent a lot of this first episode just kind of going over my initial impressions of the cast because that's what you do with the first episode, but I'll probably mix up the format by next month. We'll see what feels more natural by then. For more info on Kamen Rider Build's developments, go to Build Rider News on Tumblr. I'll see you again next month with a review of October's episodes. Till then. We've got a lot to talk about. So this is the kind of recording session I'm in for. Alright. With a hero who's already a hero, and with a hero who's already a hero who saves several people's lives. That's what I wrote down.